Hey everybody, welcome to Infinite Realms. Okay, so I had my joke about Kathleen Kennedy. You know, and no, I'm not talking good about her. In fact, I actually want to talk about a weird interview I saw on Collider, and I don't usually watch Collider, but I just caught this. It just popped up on my recommended, and it was about the Acolyte. And I was like, okay, I know absolutely nothing about that series, so I am willing to give this a shot. And it was with the um, showrunner Leslie Headland. And, it starts out pretty innocuous. It's like, well, I pitched to Kathleen Kennedy, and then, it was about having the Jedi before the trilogies. And I was like, okay, that works. 100 years before. That's fine by me. I'm work with that. And talking about, this idea of, the Jedi are the antagonists of the story. I'm like, okay, well, that might be interesting. I try to take my Star Wars, as it comes and see what's what. But then the interview kind of took this weird turn. So almost immediately after talking about she pitched this show, all of a sudden Collider itself asks, "Okay, well I know Kathy gets a lot of shit online. That's her exact words. Good professional journalism, guys. Um, but I don't think people know this is her show." Wait, what? You just went through how you came up with the idea and said it was yours. What? Huh? You're saying the exact opposite of what you said. That caught me so off guard and so weird. I was just like, wait a minute. What are you even saying here? But wait, there's more. And then there's this weird comment by the interviewer at Collider, basically saying, and I don't understand what people in the orbit means, but my assumption is people at Lucasfilm within Disney itself were against the show. And I'm like, okay, that's a strange statement. How would we know? How would you know that? So then comes one of the biggest things of this is Leslie starts talking about how people don't like anything being critical of the Jedi. And I'm like, wait, isn't that essentially what the prequels were about? Was that the Jedi had lost their way? I mean, even to an extent, the Clone Wars was about that. And I would argue that it could have been done a little better and a little bit stronger. I mean, but essentially, I always felt that's what the prequels were about. And again, I thought there could have been better ways to do it. And it was very critical of the Jedi, in my opinion. I mean, Obi-Wan to me seemed like the only Jedi character in the whole freaking thing, except for maybe Qui-Gon. And even he kind of, I mean, Count Dooku's whole story was that he saw the corruption of the Jedi. So people don't like being critical of the Jedi. And then she says she pulls out, and I think that's what you saw in Ryan's film. And it's like, oh God, no, 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 honey, 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 no, no. Ryan's film was bad. Okay, it was just bad. I mean, it was subverting expectations the wrong way. You could have subverted expectations in a Star Wars movie in a much better way. That was just doing shit to, oh, nobody will expect this. To me, the scene of The Last Jedi that defines that movie of how bad it is doesn't even involve Jedi. It's that scene where Rose drives that vehicle into. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I think about it and it's so funny. But it's that scene where Rose drives into the vehicle Finn is driving when he's about to destroy the big laser. I think they called it the ground-based Death Star. I was like, okay, whatever. And I mean, it's a severe crash. It's a bad crash. Somebody should have died in that. And then she says, we only win by saving what we love. And I'm like, none of that makes sense. She damn near killed him to save him. I mean, she could have really, I mean, he was going really fast. She was going really fast. She could have killed both of them. But to save him, that's the mess that was The Last Jedi right there. In one scene, to me, that defines the mess that was Last Jedi. It makes no freaking sense whatsoever. It still doesn't. No, we don't care that it was critical of the Jedi. We do care it was critical of Luke. I do think they could have pulled off Luke being an old hermit a lot better. It's not that they did it. It's just they did it in a way that wasn't true to the character. So again, she goes on and on about, how they're not perfect and not the light and not the heroes that we think they are and all that. And it's like, yeah, that's the whole point of the prequels. It's the whole point of the Clone Wars series. Ahsoka walked away from the Jedi Order for that very reason. And let's never mind it, we've had subsequent series and such that have said similar. It's like they don't. I don't understand. Are they still trying to spin doctor The Last Jedi with this? Is that what they're doing? I mean, I don't know, but it made me really go, wait a minute on this Acolyte show, because now I'm like, if that's the attitude they have walking in, what is the final product going to look like? Because I don't think they actually understand what's happened before and what will happen now and how that is. And do they not get the universe? In one way, at least, it's going to be so far removed from the original trilogy that it might not even matter. It sounds like a very small story, so if it's a bad story, it's like, what if Andor was bad? Well, it's a small story. It didn't have as big an impact. So it sounds like a little small story that's kind of on its own. And if it's really bad, I can kind of live with it. It won't be like I have to, just completely ignore, act like it never existed. But made me think this isn't going to be so good. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because in general, I think I like the Star Wars shows better than most people. But I'm not sunshine and rainbows and saying they're all perfect. I mean, they got plenty of issues. But this one, just by that interview, I'm worried it's going to be a stink burger. And I just am saying it sounds like a lot of meddling from Kathleen Kennedy and trying to make it her own, as it were. And I am convinced a lot of the problems with the third season of Mandalorian revolve around the fact that they resolved one of the biggest plot points in Book of Boba Fett. And we're getting conflicting stories on this, but apparently they wanted to make it part of season 3 and then got shoehorned into putting it in the Book of Boba Fett. And that caused them to have to completely redo most of season 3. So, yeah, there is a conflicting story with that too, that, no, that was always the intention. It's like, okay. But we know they're gonna spin doctor things, so it's hard to say what's the reality. So at the end of it, we're just gonna have to watch the show and judge for ourselves. I know some people have completely abandoned Star Wars, and I'm fine with that. I still like some stuff. I didn't hate The Mandalorian season 3, but it's easily the weakest of the series by a long shot. And I didn't, Book of Boba Fett was disjointed. Obi-Wan, I like it a lot better than most people, but I don't love it. Leave it at that. Uh, that's just me talking. Andor is pretty okay. Uh, you know, my only thing is the pacing was a little too slow, but the payoffs were great. Okay, so yeah, there could be some messes going on, or it could be good. We won't know until we see it. So until then, I guess we'll just have to speculate. But that interview did not leave me with a good feeling, not at all. So that'll wrap it up for me. Just spitting shit about Star Wars. Don't forget to like and subscribe.